We are making a little video today just to celebrate Xmen and Xmen Kids. And I am with Liz and Troy.
And Sky.
And look who's in the background. My favorite little Xmen. She's just the cutest. Look at her. Wow, this. Oh, it's so funny. With Xmen, you cannot be vested in the outcome. And I just said to you guys, we had a little meet about a few projects. And I said, hey, let's make a little story about Xmen and the contribution that they be. And one of the stories that I would like to share with your permission, Liz, is about Sky in the body class in London.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Sky, who's here, and she is just such a dynamic, I want to say, facilitator for a different future on our planet, with me all the time anyway.
Me
I can
too.
imagine. Yeah, she
Like whenever I'm gonna like ask a question in the call, she just like popped up in the like background, and I just look at her and I was like, ah, okay. Like she just like deliver me like a different like energy that I require, and for me to like choose something different. And it's just like I'm just like, whoa, I'm just like, wow. And it's just like such a contribution. And
contribution. So we were having this body class in London, and I had a 13-year-old in class who me and Liz like fell in love with her, you know, and so did Sky. And she had had a real upset morning. A lot of self-judgment came up, like and this kid was like super stressed, and she was crying, and like I walked up the stairs because the class is on the first floor, and I walked up and she met me, and she was like really stressed, and I don't want to be here anymore, I can't deal with this. And I said to her, hey, well, how about you get on a bed and we run a process on you and we can have a chat after that. So she walks over. Sky is her partner. Can you imagine having Sky there with her big soft face and yeah, no drama, no trauma, no judgment, no right, no wrong. And she pops on the bed and Sky opens the manual, picks a process and runs the process. And I look down and I look at her and I'm like, apparently this is a kid in a small body. Do you get what it like? Apparently this is a kid in a small body. And for me, I find it hard. I have to constantly tell Liz, what's her age again, you know? And so I look at this kid in a small body, and I see this infinite being and this capacity for being that very few people have available to them on this planet. And she sits there with everything that's going on with no judgment, and she runs the process. And I look down at her and she just smiles up. And at the end of the process, the 13-year-old gets off the bed and she's big blue eyes and oh, she's a beauty. And she comes up and she wraps her arms around me. She said, I love you so much, Rachel. And oh my God. And she loves Sky and she loves the world again, and she's happy. And that for me is we can promote this class about Xmen and kids until the cows come home, or we can promote Xmen. But the stories that we tell are real and true examples of where these fish are the gift, where they offer us a different choice, you know what I mean, with their presence. And for me, it's just like, yeah, it's mind-blowing.
And it's so different than you think, like, because it's really like we have such a point of view about like how those things happen and how they show up, like, but with the kids, it's like they don't have a point of view, like even like running a body process that like they're not trying to fix anything, they're just there being that space. And like with no point of view, so that everything can change, but it so looks different that you think they're not doing anything. Like you think they're just like are they even doing anything? But they're like actually like being such a space so that so much more can actually shift and change, and like amazing.
Yeah, It really is. And it's so funny what you said, they're not doing anything, but they're being a magical space. If you're willing to receive it, it'll transform your whole life, you know. And she looks up. And you know, last night I had it's amazing. I had a big shift myself last night. And after the shift, my son called me, and Troy was next to me when he called me. And he said, Mom, you're my superhero. And I was like, huh? I genuinely like had the point of view that I was the most mother on the planet, because I had a lot of like drama and trauma and upset as a kid, and I brought that into my relationship as a mom. But he said to me, Mom, you had so many times that like he would like my son would get stressed and be like, wah, and bang his head off the car and like freak out. And I always knew though that he didn't have that when we were at home in a house that I bought in the country. He didn't have that when he was in the earth. He had it only when we were going into environments where I now know I didn't know at the time, where there was a lot of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And even with his school, there was a big picture of a happy face outside the school. And he would say, that's not the way it's in there. And he would still say the whole thing was a crock of shit. It wasn't. So for me, I suppose I'm in a very fresh, vulnerable space whereby I'm a success today because my son told me last night, you have always been there for me, even when I chose stress, even when I did stuff that certainly didn't create our future that we were looking to create. You have always been there with me. And because I was there with him, I was able to receive the gift that he was and still is and contribute to him. And in our case, it would have been a lot different if I didn't have the tools on the I know you know this, Liz, particularly with your kids that I've known for years, and with Troy, even he went to the store the other day and he was like stressed. So I know that conversation last night with my son, telling me that I'm his superhero and thanks for always being there with him. I know that would not have been created until I got to the space of recognizing how aware my son was. Yeah. So we offer you this class. We invite you to the space of possibilities. Here's our little queen. What's on your jumper? Cats, of course. And yeah, how does it get any better than this? Anything else you guys would like to add?
Let's add anything.
And that right there is another thing we do. I used to be judged for that, you know, space. How does it get any better than this? We invite you, Xmen Kids.